Okay, let's go ahead and make a number line. And I want you to put midpoint. And I'm also going to notate these two are congruent too. So the endpoints are always denoted by 1 and 2. So we have x1, y1, and the other endpoint is x2 and y2. What do you think I might denote the midpoint then? Just x and y. And you would have to find, or you remember to memorize the midpoint formula. So let's write out. Midpoint is denoted by capital M. Why not lowercase?
Because that represents other things.
It represents slope. So we know our midpoint is the average of the x's, so x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and average of the y's, y1 plus y2, that's a 2, divided by 2. Okay, I'm going to change up the question. I want you to cross off the initial question and just write on here, find the midpoint. Find the midpoint. And our points are given. If you want to plot it, that's up to you. But since I have the formula, I'm not going to worry about graphing. So here's x1 and y1. Here's x2 and y2. And I forgot to close my parentheses. One thing that you have to do on your test, for every formula you use, you have to write out the formula every single time, so I can give you partial credit. Everyone clear on that? Okay? So let's go ahead and write in. What is going to replace x1? 0. Plus, what about x2? 6 divided by 2. What about y1? 1. Plus the y2 is? 4 divided by 2. And this one should be pretty simple. 6 over 2 is how many? 3. And then if I take 1 plus 4 is 5, and I have 5 half, you can leave it as 5 half, but because it's a clean decimal, I'm going to write 2.5. Can you say 2 and 1 half if you want to?
Yes.
For sure. Okay, the next one is slightly different. Evan, let's read number 3.
D is the midpoint of, is that a line segment?
In segment CE.
E has coordinates -3, -2, and D has coordinates 2.5 and 1. Find the coordinates of C.
Okay, put a big star next to this one. So here's a common mistake for students on the next test. When I give you 2 points, you assume those are the endpoints, and that is not the case. It says D is the midpoint, right? And it says coordinate D has that point. That is going to be our x and y. So just for visual purposes, let's go ahead and make our number line here. And it says D is in the middle of CE. And they gave us point D is at 2.5, comma 1. And point E is at -3, comma -2. Let's label them. I know my endpoint, that's not given on the C, is x1 and y1. The other endpoint is x2 and y2. And how do we denote the midpoint?
X and Y.
X and y. So we have to kind of go backwards on this one. The first thing we must do is write out the what? Formula. So we have the average of the x's and average of the y's. My 2's are so pretty. All right. Do I know anything about x1? No, but do I know the midpoint?
Yes.
So I'm going to put that in parentheses. My midpoint is 2.5, comma 1. I know nothing about the x1, so leave it as it is. What about x2?
-3.
-3 divided by 2. y1, I know nothing about it. What is y2? -2. All divided by 2. So then I'm going to color coordinate. The x's must be equal to each other. And then the y's must be equal to each other. We can't mingle them together. So I'm going to demo the first part. So here I go. I'm going to put the yellows together. So we have x1 plus -3 divided by 2 is equal to 2.5. Do y'all mind if I do one go on this? Let's see what that means. What is 2 times 2.5?
5.
What is 5 plus 3?
8.
Boom. X1 is equal to 8. If you have to do the algebra 1 behind this, go for it, okay? If you're comfortable doing that and not make a mistake, that's up to you as well. So I saw for X over here. All right, now let's go ahead and set the equation for Y with the partner and work together. Say, hey neighbor, welcome back. Work together. All right, give me a fist, everybody. Oscar, give me a fist. So Y1 is equivalent to how many represented with the fingers? Go. Did we all get 4? Good job. Do I need to show this for anybody?
Yes.
Okay. So then we're going to set the blues equal to each other. So we have Y1 plus a negative 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. And in case you forgot algebra 1, let's practice that. We're going to multiply everything by 2. So these 2 eliminate. Are y'all okay if I simply write minus 2? Because plus a negative?
Yes.
Okay. What is 1 times 2? 2. And then back in algebra 1, what did you do on both sides? Add 2. Any questions on that? So 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, on the back. I want to go on to numbers 7 and 8, and we're going to conclude. So we have this fractional distance, this formula that you can memorize. I don't want you to memorize this. Let's use logic, okay? So example number 7. Let's do that one together. Before I do, Henry, will you read that out loud?
Find the point that is 1/3 of the way from -0 to 711.
Ooh, 7-Eleven. So we're looking at the distance. The way I want to look at this, although on 1.7 it was already covered, but in case you didn't get to it, I want you to circle the x's. I want to attack the x's first and then the y's. So on my x, for those of you guys that are a visual learner, draw yourself a line segment. Okay, so if I start at -2 and I end at 7, what is the actual distance of that? 9. Do we all see that? 9. So I'm going to write in here 9. And it says I want 1/3 of the way. What is 1/3 of 9? 3, okay. And then you go, yay, that's my final answer. And that's not. If I go 3 units from -2, where do I land? 1, very good. Boom. So we basically use a fractional distance without memorizing that formula. Okay? Let's use that logic for the second piece, the y piece. So again, here's my 0. Here's my 11. So what is the distance from 0 to 11? 11. And then 1/3 of 11, is that going to be a pretty number?
No.
I'm going to leave it as 11 over 3. The cool thing about this number, it looks like a negative, it's not. We're starting at 0, right? So that's going to be the actual true value. I like the numbers to be in 2 parts. So 3 can go into 11 how many times?
3 times.
3. And how many remaining?
2/3.
2/3. And 11/3 is perfectly fine as well. Okay? All right. Now we're looking at midpoint from a 3 dimension. So basically, it's the average of the x's, the y's, and z's. So if you know one, you know the other. Let's try example 8 with the partner real quick. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Talk to your neighbor.
Okay, so we got 0, 12, and 8. Find the midpoint, 11, 6. And then from 9, 9 to 1.
And for practice, do write out the formula, even though it's right above it.
I got 6 for the x's. I got 5 for the y's. I got 1 for the z.
All,
Check with your neighbor. Did y'all get 6, 5, 1?
yes.
Do I need to show the work? Okay, so we have 6, 5, 1. Is that a good way to just do all the work? Am I modeling something really good?
No.
No. Formula, plug it in, and then final answer. Good?